Welcome to Virtuous Society. I'm your host, Itamar, where we dive into the art of Web3 gaming, community building, and more. Today we have Brycent, one of the top influencers in Web3 gaming and a core team member at Game 7. Brycent and I have been working together on the content creator skill tree, a unique path for emerging creators to begin their journey and grow in the Web3 gaming space. This episode is all about why we're building this program, what we hope it will bring to the world, and the opportunities it will hold for the people that will participate in it. Enjoy the episode. Brycent, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
What's up, Edamar? Man, I'm good. It feels good to be back on the podcast. What has it been? It's been like, 4 or 5 months since we previously did one. So it's about that time. And a lot's happened since then. So it's good to be able to hop on a podcast with you and jam out and talk about content, gaming, Game 7, and everything in between.
And all the fun stuff. You're the first repeating guest. Like, you're the first one that have 2 episodes. And I felt like I really needed another one because the first one, the quality of video on my end was horrible. It's not amazing now, but it's better than
it looks good.
It's decent. It's decent. The background is so inspiring, that's for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. Now you look more like a podcaster now than you did the first time we did this. Like,
that's for sure.
Before, I was like, I get the vision, but now I'm like, damn. Like, the chair, the setup, the camera facing angle, like it fits. It fits. It looks good on you.
Yeah, now I'm embodying it. Like, I feel like I'm Stephen Bartlett. It's like his spirit is all around me. So we have a lot to talk about, and I wanted to kind of first and foremost kind of start with obviously an introduction of yourself. So you've built a very impressive reputation as a Web3 gaming influencer or content creator with a very loyal following, I would say across multiple platforms as well. Could you start by just sharing a little bit of your journey? How did you get into Web3, just for context for people who don't necessarily know who you are?
For sure. Oh, man, it feels like a lifetime ago since I entered the Web3 space. And I don't even, not that I don't remember, but more so since the beginning, I feel like everything has happened so fast that when I look back at my early days of getting in the space in 2021 and jumping in as I'm a software engineer who has dabbled in content creation and streaming, and jumping into that world. I started out, in the world of Axie Infinity. Like, I would say the first Web3 game that a lot of people had as their exposure to what this industry was. And, coming in and just looking for opportunities to add value, to see where I can provide value. And, I didn't have a ton of money. I didn't have a ton of Bitcoin. I didn't have any of that stuff, actually. So for me, it was just coming in and being like, well, where do I have an unfair advantage? It was content creation. So really honed in on helping build out, I would say, what was a very big piece of the early Web3 gaming bull run around, scholarships and gaming and creating content and getting people on multiple platforms. It led to me being able to launch my own venture funded guild at the time, Loot Squad. Rest in peace. We had a good run, boys. And that was pretty much me for about a year and a half to 2 years, was making gaming content full time in Web3 and running a venture funded startup. Bear market hits. I would say my thought processes around the guild or gaming world changed a bit. And I went from someone who believed in the whole play to earn model to someone I don't believe in the word. I don't believe in play to earn. I think that there's always going to be winners and losers. So, that resulted in we shut down Loot Squad, returned investor funds. And since then, I've been full time just making content in Web3 gaming. I had a really good conversation with Ronan last year about Game 7. And he brought me into the fold, into the loop. So now I've been a true Game 7 citizen, a part of the team now for almost a year, which feels insane. So I've had a pretty interesting last 3 to 4 years. And I don't think that I would change a bit of it, but hopping into this conversation and in a world where I feel like content creation is so important, so powerful. I mean, we even see it with X, Elon spending $46 billion to own his own content creation platform. So I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, to own the town hall. So
he wants to be the town crier.
Yeah, he's doing a decent job. Like the department of whatever, like the Dodge thing,
The
Department
Department
of
of Government Efficiency
Government Efficiency. The
has a
fact that
nice
he
ring to
fucking
it.
called it Dodge, that's amazing. Like it's like
Yeah,
he's a billionaire, but he's a troll also, which is great. So
it's pretty hilarious.
yeah, it is. So we're here really to talk about the creator skill tree, but I think we need to provide some context. You
Yeah,
mentioned Ronen Kirsch, the head of Game 7, the guy that pulled everyone here together somehow. Like
yeah,
every single one of us did
great
something
guy.
completely different before he met Ronen, and somehow he managed to get all of us. Interesting, interesting guy.
He's
So,
good at putting teams together. He's good
for
at
sure,
finding talented people and understanding where he thinks they can add
and
the best
luring them
value.
in, and
Oh
luring
man,
them
for
in.
sure. And then
Uh,
once you're in, you never want to leave.
exactly, which is the good part. So we've pre-launched the content creator skill tree alongside two other skill trees. A lot to unpack with that statement. What the hell does a pre-launch mean? What is a skill tree, and how does it relate to content creators? So I'll give some context since me and you have been working on it together for a little bit. So skill trees or the pre-launch of is pretty much a way for us to gamify and give a clear path for people that want to contribute for Game 7 and are not necessarily core team members. We have been giving out a lot of bounties, both regarding content and community based for a while now. I think the number is now above 80K, and I think it's above 700 bounties or something crazy.
It's pretty impressive.
Pretty insane. And the fact that we've done that mainly throughout the bear, kind of insane. But now we're putting some more structure for it, and we want to pretty much make the path clearer for anyone that wants to participate. And this episode right here will be us kind of unpacking, first and foremost, I would say the why, like why are we doing what we're doing with the content creator skill tree, but also probably talking a little bit about skill trees as a whole and kind of the vision for them, because the vision is very big. Like we see it as the mechanism that will decentralize Game 7 eventually. It will take years, but we think those are the first steps. And we got the responsibility and the honor to lead that the transition. So I gave some
You gave
maybe
a
too
lot of color
long.
there.
Yeah, I gave some color, and
Yeah.
now I wanted to ask you, since we already have kind of dozens of creators that are already down the path. They are a certain level. Can you give us an overview of the content creator skill tree and share kind of why do you believe it's essential? Like why
Yeah.
are you bought in?
So what's crazy about it is when I look at the content creator skill tree and what it can provide to, I would say Web3 gaming more so than, or Web3 just in general, more so than, what the traditional world kind of needs, because I feel like the competition level in the traditional world is a bit higher. So you don't really need to decipher. But in Web3, the cost per customer or cost per acquisition is incredibly high. And the content in a lot of the cases isn't necessarily reflective of what the average spend is for an organization. And when you look at it, and especially what we've seen from just the UGC program, you have people at different levels, people with different varying skill sets. Some people are great thread writers. Some people are great at video. Some people are great at X spaces. Some people are great at podcasting, quote, quote, Itamar. But when I look at, across the spectrum of content in Web3, there's also a large group of people who are, I would say, kind of cutting corners, but also in the same vein, it's very hard for projects to decipher who's really, really good at what they do, even if they don't have a ton of followers. And when I look at this skill tree that we're building and the idea of being able to give a rating, a level, an overall, percentage-based understanding of how good someone is at a thing or how experienced they are. In content creation, you don't really see that enough, because there's a big difference between somebody who is able to, write a thread, which everyone can do. It's easy to go on ChatGPT and type in, write me a thread about the Game 7 Boomlam campaign based on this tweet, versus being able to eloquently create content that converts, content that people want to read, and content that people find interesting. And I feel like the creators who can do the latter in Web3 aren't always the most successful, because you still kind of need to have some sort of audience that's looking to consume that content. And it's not as easier said than done. So when I look at the content creator skill tree, I see a world where we're able to bring creators into the fold of what we do at Game 7, help them sharpen their skills as content creators, whether it's through writing formats, text formats, video formats, by, me sharing the things, the secrets, the ingredients of how I was able to build my brand, how I was able to community build, how I was able to grow in a way that feels organic and can add value to projects. And I think a lot of content creators really resonate with that, especially in a world where we see this crypto market boom. And if you look across gaming, you don't really see that. It's still kind of lagging behind. And I think it's because when you look at these other realms, yes, there's money involved, but there's also a lot of people championing it and a lot of really good content coming out from those people. And I think we really need to see that in the space of Web3 gaming. And of course, the games have to move as well. But when I look at skill trees, I truly believe that we are rewriting the way people are recognized for creating content. It's not just about who you know, or how many followers can you bot, or how many likes can you buy, but like truly, how good is your content? How do we go about helping you become better content creators? And then how do we make that reflective in the Game 7 portal? How do we make that reflective, alongside that person's brand, and provide, or be able to provide more opportunities based on having that level of authenticity behind, the work that they've done. So I think that it can rewrite the way that content is consumed in Web3. And I think that it's needed. I think, a big problem we've just seen in general is the content creator network and world is so just dismantled in Web3. Like, I really do think you have people who can play games for fun. You have people who play games for, and talk about games for token related reasons. But when you look across the space in traditional gaming, like, authenticity wins, organic nature wins, organic content wins. And that's the stuff that converts. And I really want to help brands be able to work with the people that can help them reach those points. And I think it starts with what we're doing at Game 7.
So I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's the case? Like, why do you think there's that difference between Web3 to Web2 at the moment? Is that just a matter of time? Like, in terms of the content creators that we have seen, like through the UGC campaign, kind of pretty much like vetting people's content and saying, okay, there were a lot of clear botting involved in a lot of cases, both in terms of likes, comments, engage, like anything. Like we saw a lot of that, and we also saw a lot of like really fucking good content. And in terms of just the follower count to the comments and likes and the impressions, like really fucking good. And we found some gems. Why do you think those gems are still kind of in the dark? Like, what's the reason for that?
I think it's, the first reason I would say is like the total addressable market for Web3 games right now in terms of people consuming Web3 gaming content is a lot lower than it would have been, 8 to 10 months ago when, the TGE mania was first taking off and you had Block Games and all these other companies, and like you had a lot more speculation involved. So you had a lot more traders that were entering the space. And as meme coins got really popular, at least in Web3, we've seen kind of the shift of attention change. So those same gaming projects aren't getting the same, visibility or traction or just overall, interconnectivity as they would have previously. So I would say initially, one of the things I just take into account is like when you're making content, the total addressable market for that content matters, no matter how much you want to believe it or not. You can have the greatest piece of content, and if your total addressable market isn't as high as you would think, or isn't as high as necessary, it's just not going to perform. I've seen it in my own content. Just to like give an example, I had a post that I posted on Instagram. It got like maybe 5,000 views. A gaming Instagram branded account called Bleacher Report Gaming posts my clip. They like message me and say, hey, we want to post your clip. They post my clip and get 4.5 million views in 5 hours. So it is a thing of like understanding that your account might be too small at the moment, but also how big is the market for the viewers that you're looking for, or for the people who are consuming the content. So I think that's the first issue. And then I think the second issue is the Web3 gaming space has built out a pool of overly egotistical individuals and creators based on, by all standards of approach in terms of numbers, I would say mostly just mediocre success. And as a result, we've seen, the cost of working with creators go 10, 20x. We've also seen, the idea that the content that you get is nowhere near the value that it costs. And I think that beyond that, of course, it is more expensive to work with Web3 gaming creators because you don't have, Web2 creators don't want to touch crypto. Like, it's really taboo. But I also think as creators, you have to go into every project, every game that you work with the thought process of like, what can I do to make it to where this game feels excited to work with me again? How do I help them convert more people? How do I bring new eyes to this game, to this project that they wouldn't have previously had? And I think that when I look across the board, a lot of people are just out here doing things for a check. And I think that Game 7 is going to be able to find a lot of hidden gems in the creator ecosystem that are hungry, that are willing to put in the time, effort, and actually ideate on the content they make. So it's not just, let me just post a piece of content with some snappy editing and then boom. No. How do you ideate and make something that is truly interesting to somebody? Because that is way more valuable than just, oh, we're just playing a game. We're just gonna post a highlight. Like, how do you make something valuable? How do you take a piece of content and make it a 10x piece of content based on the way you create context about it? And I think those are the creators that are going to really help propel Web3 gaming to the next level, whether it takes 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. I know that was a bit long-winded, but I would say like that's my overall thought process.
So say I'm a content creator or I'm an aspiring content creator, whatever level. I have a medium account, I have a small account, whatever it is. Why should I participate? Like, why should I engage in the content creator skill tree? Like, what's in it for me?
I think initially what's in it is the ability to just streamline your content, streamline your branding, and become better at your craft, and it not cost you a single dime. I mean, as someone who spends money on his content, I spend a lot of it. I've spent, $1,000 retainers working with some of the best people on YouTube to learn how to like improve my YouTube strategy. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I've, attended creator workshops. I've hosted my own. I've done this for 3 years full time and made, somewhere in the range of the last couple of years, probably like 500 or 600 grand just off of my own content. So when I think about what that means to someone who's trying to be a creator full time and what that could mean for Web3, I look at it as like, you're not learning, the first thing is you're learning from somebody who's done it. You're learning from someone who's been, battle tested in the space and has seen levels of success that are, a blessing. And then the second level of it is it's going to provide you with potential earning opportunities. We're going to be hosting bounties and ways to get involved, and not just within, the Game 7 ecosystem.
Like,
so a bounty is like, you mean in terms of like directly?
How does it look
like?
Like I'm now like I'm participating in the skill tree, and I now got access to a bounty. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I mean, a bounty is simply it's a prompt to do or create a certain piece of content, and you're competing with other content creators for a share of what I would consider as like a prize pool of sorts. So like, let's say we made one where it's like, okay, make a short video explaining Game 7's recent Boomland drop. You and whoever else is permitted to be in the bounty, you'd all, make your short videos, submit them, and potentially share in, some of the earnings from those bounties. So, or some of the earnings of that prize pool. So in general, bounties are a way to create smart competition within the creator ecosystem and promote the best content. So it's not just here's a participation award for being involved, but no, you create better content, you're going to get paid more, you're going to have more opportunity. And I think that's where the future of a lot of content creation goes, is like, how do you create content that can be value additive, and as a byproduct of it being value additive, you see potential value from it.
I understand the why. What's the how? Like in terms of how it actually works. Like how do I get access to the course? How do I get access to the bounties? How do I level up? Like what do I need to do now? Say I'm in. Like you got me. Like I want to be there. What do I need to do?
So in the creator skill tree, I mean, for now it is invite only. In terms of like the creator accelerator, we want to keep it very small and intimate to start. But if you are lucky enough to get invited, we're probably going to go with 15 to 20 people this time around and keep some of the people from our previous cohort. We're going to have those bounties available every single week. It's a 4-week curriculum where you're going to be learning live labs from me, YouTube ideation and strategy, thread ideation and strategy, branding help, and overall just improving your content and your branding. So that way, by the end of the 3 to 4 week program, you're going to be in a position where your content can, be in a much better place. You're going to be well equipped with different tools to be able to be more successful as a creator. And I think that, ultimately, as you're honing your skills as a creator, you're only going to want to be more incentivized to participate in bounties, especially if the opportunities are lucrative enough. So it's a little bit of a combination of learning and the lessons that you're going to take from me, but also being able to apply them directly through branding, building, and participating in these bounties.
Love it. I think that like the way that we structured all skill trees, both the content
Yeah.
creator and the community, I think it's a better, like I think of it as an educational product first and foremost. So you're in it to learn, and you're in it to build your career in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that the fact, and maybe we're delusional, but I think we got something here. I think that right now you pretty much pay for your education or it's free. So either you like pretty much break your teeth in YouTube and Google and try to kind of learn everything by yourself
Yeah.
somehow, and you might have the resources and you might don't have them, and you can take courses and you can join like masterminds, and that will maybe like cost a lot, but that could also decrease the amount of time that you will need in order to actually learn what you need, but there's no guarantee. And there are also universities which you'd pay a lot, but
Oh
you
my
would
goodness.
get that stamp of approval. Like you would get someone, you're really paying for the certificate. You're paying for someone who's vetting you. I think we're flipping the script a little bit and we're paying people to learn, which is cool because we're not handing out money. We're giving people opportunity to apply what they learn for stuff that we need, which is very like a decentralized concept.
I like that better. I like that concept better. Yeah, we're not handing. I think that's like a misconception, and that's why I said like I hate the play to earn space in the bullshit. Excuse my language that perpetuates.
Go for it.
Because you're basically
We
saying you can
approve
just participate and be participating in something, and as a byproduct of participating, we're going to just allow you to get free money, free opportunity, and sometimes like it makes sense like for early adopters, but this idea that life should award people with participation trophies for just existing and being here is such a backwards concept. And I think it's one that has like continued to stifle innovation and growth, like a lot over time, regardless of industry, because a lot of people don't understand that if you really want to eat out here, you have to go hunt, not figuratively. Like you don't need to go out with a spear and go chase buffalo.
Maybe you do.
I mean, maybe depending on where you're at,
maybe you're doing it for fun also.
You need to be able to be active and go out and understand the importance of putting in work to achieve specific results. And I feel like that's gone under the wayside by a lot of people. So I'm hoping we see more people willing to step up and say, okay, like, yeah, I want to be better at what I do and be a value additive person in general. Like, I think that's what really inspires me behind this program.
for sure. I think that also, like we launched without really knowing. I think with the creator accelerator, we had more of an idea just because we ran one
Yeah.
previously, and we also had a UGC campaign, and we were like, okay, there's a lot of fucking like very good people here.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, like it seems like a very safe, I would say, play, because we knew that the we had the manpower for it. Like we had the people that are actually that will actually take the opportunity and run with it. We saw a similar thing in Guardians, which was better than expected. Obviously, we know them better because it's like community members, but we felt very safe launching the opportunities because we knew who the people that are going to apply to them were previously. At least some of them, not all
Yeah.
of them, but we had some idea. I think those people are already bought into the core of really, I would say, the play behind really engaging in skill trees, because right now the market is booming. Bitcoin is like 90 something k. Like everyone are super happy, even though in reality way less people are really actually making money at the moment than what you
Yeah.
would believe. But if you go to Twitter, everyone just
Everyone's
bought
a millionaire right now. Everyone
everyone
made
just
$1
bought it.
billion.
Every single one just longed from 15k and now just celebrating. Every single one. I think the biggest play for me, I'm not sure if you would agree or not. I assume you will, but we'll see. Like the biggest play for me in the last bull market wasn't any token that I bought. It was actually working in Web3. Like that was the thing. Like if the
Yeah.
industry in itself is just like moving forward and everyone are quote unquote winning, you really get the most value from my perspective if you actually contribute and you build your career in it. And I think it's difficult for a lot of people because we have a lot of people which are the people that are currently participating in skill trees, whether it's the content
Yeah.
one or any other ones. Like they have the want and they have the grit and they have that hardworking bone in them, but they didn't necessarily had the vehicle. Like they didn't necessarily had the opportunity that made sense for them because they're starting. They need to start somewhere, and they didn't
Yeah.
necessarily had it. What would you say in terms of, let's say, the character and the character traits that you need in order to be successful in this skill tree? Because you might get stuck in level one. Like, yeah, I'm like, how does a successful skill tree participant look like? What are
Yeah.
his virtues?
So I would agree with you initially around the idea that like, yeah, I've had a couple of really solid wins last like market with tokens, but the life-changing part came from just doing work in a space that I believe in and creating that like brand equity with people. I think that's like led to way more opportunities just through the work that I've done. But I do think like in terms of personality wise, like the skill trees needs people who are grinders, go-getters, people who care to ask why and not just do something. Like not people who are just like, oh man, this works because Bryce did something and it said it works. No, like understanding why something works. People who are curious, people who are optimists, and people who don't have a lazy bone when it comes to the things they really want to get done. I think that like goes a long way because one of the things that I like a quote that I really picked up when I was a kid, actually, I used to go to basketball camp and there was this basketball player named Kenny Smith, really, really good basketball player. And he used to have one saying, and this saying stuck with me since I was probably like 8 years old. The only saying he would ever say is, if you really want to be exceptional in anything you do in life, just do the ordinary things extraordinary or extraordinary, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me because it's just like, it's more so a game of consistency and just beating down the door every single day and getting slightly better. And of course, people say, oh, you just get 1% better every day. Like, it's like you can't really quantify 1% unless you're like going to the gym or something. But like, if you just do the ordinary things extraordinary, you're going to be better than most people. if you are more responsive at responding than other people, whether it's for a deal, whether it's for an opportunity, whether it's for a job, you're most likely going to get the opportunity over somebody else. If you are willing to understand why something doesn't work and make iterative changes every time something doesn't work. Oh, for example, the YouTube video. I had a video that did, I think it was like 11,000 views. And one of my best performing videos of like probably the last like 6 months, just making like just pure gaming video content. And then, I released a video the other day. Video does like maybe 500-600 views. And the first thing I think of is like, okay, so like, what made this video not do as well? Well, first off, it didn't do well, probably because the thumbnail wasn't as eye-catchy as previous videos. Okay, we know the thumbnail was a big problem. We need to work on that. Maybe it was the editing a problem? No, the average view duration was still good. So the people that clicked the thumbnail got exactly what they were looking for. But it is a thing if you have to understand that there's always an answer built into everything you're trying to do. If something doesn't work, it's not something to get emotionally charged over. It's more so something to just try to figure out where the data and you had a disconnect. Because in content, the biggest thing that people fail to realize is there's only two things that really matter. Are you making the type of content that viewers are actually looking for? And are you packaging that content in a way where someone can consume it? If both of those exist, your content is going to perform well. If they don't exist, your content is going to perform poorly. And within those two buckets, there's tons of layers of things you could talk about, whether it's like thumbnail or title or click rate or description or the intro, the first 10 seconds, the editing style, like all those are like other miscellaneous things. But if you ideate and you understand exactly who you're trying to reach and what you're trying to like share, your chances of something being successful go up tremendously. And I think people a lot of times fail to realize that because they just see content. They're like, oh man, let's just post. Like, okay, well, you could just post, but like, does it make sense if we were doing this, does it make sense to post the same video for 100 days and the video gets a very little amount of traction and you just keep doing the same thing? That to me, that's borderline insanity or being like, okay, this didn't perform well. Why didn't it perform well? It didn't perform well because of these factors. Okay, if it didn't perform well because of these factors, we're going to go back and make changes. Then you make the changes, you come back to it, and you solve for that, and you get slightly better. And then you look up in a year and a half or 2 years, and people look at you like you're a genius, and they're like, oh man, this guy blew up overnight. But they don't see the consistent iteration. They don't see the thought process behind, man, well, I know, for example, in Axie, when I really popped off at Axie, I realized that like in the Philippines, they had a ton of people that at the time they wanted scholarships and they wanted to be involved in scholarships. But the American audience and the audience in the widely developed countries, they would almost like shun or look down on scholars as like people who are just farming the hell out of the token. And there was a Filipino chat in the Discord. And I was like, why not just invite these people to my Twitch stream? I already have a ton of scholarships to give away. I can quantify their watch time as a way to see that they're learning the game and that they are learning to become a contributor to Web3 because they're watching my stream. And as a byproduct of that, I can award them with scholarships based on watch time points. And that's like the original, probably ideated thesis of what I had. And I mean, I tested it out, and from, within 2 months, I went from maybe averaging like 20 to 50 viewers to like 3,000 concurrent. And no, I mean, like, yeah, you could say it's like a growth hacky thing, but it's like at the time, it's like, I'm super bullish on scholarships. I'm super bullish on this world of Web3, which I still am.
Of everything, really.
Yeah, you got to find what is your unfair advantage. And you have to really hone in on that and test it. And if it doesn't work, iterate. And I think a lot of people lack that skill.
Yeah, I think you also, like, it's a lot of clarity from my perspective. Like, what are you trying to get? Like, my objective with this show, like for the first 6 months, are very different in terms of my objective for the next 12.
Yeah.
But I'm clear in terms of what I want to do and need to do. I think that's for a lot of people, it's maybe a bit of I just don't know how. And for other people, it's just I haven't necessarily put the thought in. So it depends on which side of the court are you really. I want to bring it back to kind of the role of community within all of this.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a community-led idea. Like we haven't invented it just from like, okay, like let's just do it. Like we had so many people in the community that are doing content or want to do
Yeah.
content. So it kind of that was the seed of all of it. But from your perspective, how do you see kind of the dynamic between the community and the content creator skill tree unfolding? So why do you think that running this as a community skill tree could uh, ultimately help it be successful?
So I think that like above all else, when we look at Game 7 and like what Game 7 is trying to build, um, I think that Game 7 has struggled trying to figure out what the unfair advantage of Game 7 is, but it's been right in front of everybody's face. And to me, that unfair advantage is community. It's cliche to say, but when I think about, Game 7 and what makes them different, I think it is Game 7 is a community ecosystem. And when I think about that term, it makes me truly understand that the way to onboarding people or getting people interested in Game 7 isn't going to be through the traditional means of what everyone else is doing. Hiring a bunch of KOLs to just bull post every now and then, making announcement after announcement. That's what other people do. And it works to an extent, but you really got to build a strong core. And at the base of a strong core is builders. And to me, content creators fall under that builder persona or that builder term. And the one thing we can do as an ecosystem that like can outperform what other people are doing and other chains is truly hone in on unscalable things. It's not scalable to like host. You're not going to go out and get hundreds of people at once by like me hosting, like a creator accelerator with a skill tree. I mean, you potentially could, but ideally, you want to be able to make it as intimate as possible. And in hosting something like this, you are being very intimate and focused on who you're targeting and the type of person you want to be a Game 7 citizen. And I think that goes a long way because, yeah, maybe not the first one, but you host 10, 12, 15 of these. Then you're up over 100 creators, 200 creators. You're providing these creators opportunities. You're providing them with a way to get better at their craft. Who are they going to support? They're going to support where they're getting that help.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone talks about the idea of like, oh, well, we're going to have we're having creator programs for our games or our chains. And it's like, what's the program? It's like, oh, well, we're just going to try to throw money at things and hope that it works. And it's like, you should be trying to truly enrich someone's experience in Web3 and make them better at the thing that they want to do full time. Even if everything they do full time isn't solely focused on your ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be more likely to talk about your product, your vision, your ecosystem for free than the person you're trying to pay. And they're going to do a better job because they've been interconnected with what you're doing the entire time. And I think that is like an incredibly underrated thesis behind why I think the creator skill tree and the idea of skill trees in general and, helping other people learn how to fish is important.
Yeah. I think the entire concept of like, it seems simple, like when you think
Yeah.
of the core of it, because it's super fucking hard to execute. Maybe that's why we're the only people
Oh,
fucking
100%.
crazy enough to do it. But if you want to build a strong community, cater to them. Like it's just like people have been asking us for opportunities ever since I've joined, and we experimented with so many things, and some went really bad, but some worked. And the things that worked actually paved the way to the structure that we're now only starting to roll out, and that's months and years of work only to get to like the pre-launch.
Yeah.
So it takes a ton of effort. It takes a lot to understand how you can actually bridge that gap between people who want to contribute and we need people to contribute. It seems super fucking simple, but it's very difficult, and that's why I presume no one else really doing it as much as we do at the moment.
Yeah.
I do suspect that if our thesis is correct, I presume that people might just mimic some things that we're doing now in, say, 2 years or something. But we'll see.
100%. That's a good thing.
Um,
If it's working that well, then and people want to copy it, that means we've done
we
something.
don't
really
want to
good.
gatekeep it. I think like the best thing that could happen to the space if the entire concept of skill tree will go viral, because
Yeah.
if other people would, by extension of us doing it and it being successful, will start catering more to the people that they have in their community and start to delegate more opportunities to their community, that's a win for fucking everyone, because that's life changing from a whole different perspective. Like that's life changing in terms of how organizations actually work. That's like real application of a DAO. It's not just
Yeah.
it's not
100%
just the
agree.
title; it's an actual thing. So hopefully everyone would copy what we're doing now. I would love to see that. So before we wrap up, I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about the broader, say, impact. Like, how
Yeah.
do you think that content creation as a whole and programs like the content creator skill tree impact the space, like impact Web3 gaming as a whole?
I think as a whole, what we are able to accomplish and just creating content programs that make creators better at what they do, it changes how we're seen and perceived as creators in terms of Web3 gaming creators because we create a higher level of professionalism. But I also think it changes a game's willingness to bet on creators that are native to Web3. Because a lot of games, like we saw with Off the Grid, and I think it worked out kind of well for what they were trying to do. You just go out and pay a bunch of big Web2 creators and hope that it hits. And those the cost of that is exponentially
Massive.
more than it would cost, to work with a Web3 gaming creator. So my idea in general is that creators need to be looking to expand, especially the Web3 creators. You got to get bigger. You got to be able to provide more value. You got to be able to have more influence and be more influential in providing a better space. And the only way that happens is if we have sharpened our tools well enough to be able to compete with the traditional world, the traditional gaming market. And when I think about why what we're doing is important, it truly just comes down to how do we create a net positive for the space? How do we add value back to the world where we play, work, and build? Because if one creator is doing well, imagine if 100 are doing well. How many games and ecosystems are going to be doing well on top of that? So I just really think that Web3 gaming needs more value additive projects, features, programs that are being run for the sake of just bettering the space, even if it is just also in a way bettering your own ecosystem.
Rich. Nice. That's a good way to wrap up this episode.
That was fun.
I love it. It was. I really enjoyed this. Like I really do. So I want to first and foremost thank you
Oh,
for
thank you.
for being here. Also for you working on the content creator skill tree alongside me. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun, and I think that the next few weeks and months are going to be even more exciting. So there's a lot for
No, I
us
totally agree. We have a lot of
to.
cooking to do.
Yeah, a lot of cooking, a lot of discovering. So before we wrap up, where can they find you? Like everyone that's tuning in.
I mean, the bull market's going crazy. I'd recommend you follow me on X at Brycent _. Also, Twitter and TikTok and YouTube, just search at Brycent. I'll be the first one to pop up.
Perfect. All the links will be in the description, obviously. So thank you, Bryce, and thank you, everyone, for listening, subscribing, following, liking, all of that good stuff. We're now getting closer to the end of the year and the end of season 1. Season 2 is going to be more, I would say, just more of everything. Right now, we're just posting that one episode a week. We would still post only one episode a week, but a lot more shorts, so a lot more long forms, a lot more content overall. and I'm excited for it. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.